Well, and you're not really taking
do
the
it?
testimony. It's not a
oh, yeah.
testimony.
Everybody ready?
Yes.
I don't know, are they gonna decide tonight or are they gonna decide that?
I think we're gonna decide.
You need to hit your,
I know, gentlemen, are we
Your
ready?
mallet.
You ready?
Right, so go.
Louis? Ready?
Yes.
Okay, good. All right. I'll call to order, or I am sorry, I will
Call to order.
call to order. Actually, I'm reopening the public
Oh,
hearing
okay.
for the conditional use permit request from the Legacy Boxing and Combat Academy from the April 2nd, 2026 meeting. We are here tonight to take any further public comment on that request. Anything online?
no.
Anything else we need to do, Louis? Okay, then I will,
Move to close.
thank you. I'll accept the motion.
Second.
All right, the public hearing is closed. All right. With that, I will call to order the May 7th regular meeting of the College Township Council. Will all those who are able please rise and say the Pledge of Allegiance?
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Before we start our meeting tonight, I would like to announce that council met in executive session on April 21st to discuss a personnel matter. The first item for the meeting tonight is public open discussion. At this time, we will accept comments from the public. Please plan to limit your comments to 5 minutes. Are there any members of the public that would like to address council on any items not on the agenda? If you would come to the podium and tell us your name and also where you live. And this is in regard to a matter that's not on the agenda, correct?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Hi, my name is Drupal Patel. I live in Boalsburg, but we have a business here at 1320 East College Avenue, just across the street here, the Unimart Smoker Square. I'm here to talk about the Wawa that's coming across the street. Over the last few days, we have collected over 100 signatures just in a couple of days. Just people aren't aware of it and they want to show support. So I'm just going to start over, and then I have something kind of written down here that I'd like to say. So I am respectfully asking the council to carefully reconsider the proposed Wawa development in State College, primarily the one on State College Avenue here, on College Avenue. My main concern is not just about competition. I'm a business, like my family owns and operates that business, but in fact, competition is a part of business, which I get. More businesses can be a positive thing, but it could be a positive thing when there's local population growth. We already have 2 good gas stations in this corridor. We have multiple restaurants. We have 2 breweries here. We have W.R. Hickey's, that is also a retail beer distributor as well. And when you are approving a corporate-owned billion-dollar gas station location that's coming across the street from 2 other gas stations just down the road, we cannot compete with them. It's not a thing about competition anymore. We do not have that level of leverage to buy that much volume, discount, bulk, anything. Inventory, gas, tobacco products, anything. It doesn't matter. So I'm here to say that there's a major difference between fair local competition and allowing a large corporate chain to enter a market in a way that could seriously impact small, locally owned businesses that have served this area for many, many years. State College already has convenience stores, gas stations, coffee shops, and this one location, just in this corridor, could really uproot all of that business that's already here. When you think about Wawa, you don't think about a mom and pop shop. You think about a corporate entity, $1 billion corporate entity. And it's just something we can't match. At the end of the day, once this location's open, and I know there's a lot more locations coming to this town. I'm sure all of you have been here for many years. I'm fairly new. I've been here for only a year and a half, and I absolutely love this town because it has character. You see all these mom and pop shops, and you think, this is State College, this is nice. But in the last few years, I mean, probably not last few years, but you have over 8 already 8 to 10 sheets in the State College area already. Opening another 3, 2 are already being constructed. This is a third, and our tobacco representative, distributor, told us that there's 7 more coming in State College area. So when you think about it, do we really need that many gas stations now, convenience stores, when we already have so many? And what about the ones that are already open and been serving this town for so many years? Like they're probably going to close down because they can't compete with that. So I'm here just to tell you about our concerns. I have another business owner here as well. Unfortunately, there were other business owners that wanted to come and speak, but they were not able to on such short notice. And I'm not against development. I'm not against progress. But if you're going to open or if you're going to approve a Wawa, you have to consider, okay, there has to be at least some sort of population growth that can match that level of competition. So the other people aren't just picking up the scraps that are left, right? And so, yeah, I respectfully ask the council to consider the voices of all the small business owners, employees, residents, and customers who are concerned about this project. Please consider whether the development is truly necessary. And please consider whether this benefits the broader community and whether it may cause long-term harm to small businesses that have helped build this area. And I want to submit some signatures I have from concerned employees, primarily customers that have supported this area and they support our businesses and we are alive because of them. And they want to support our cause. I have about 50 signatures with me and we're still getting more. So I know that I got this done together at a very short notice and we're still gathering signatures and I'm still gonna come 2 weeks after this and I'm gonna still come in the meeting in the first Thursday of June as well with more signatures. So yeah, thank you.
Thank you. And you can give the, okay, thank you, Adam. Thank you. If you would tell us your name and where you live.
Hi, my name is Catherine Weback. I will be short because he said everything. And I'm not against I'm with the Cove Pizzeria, the same building as Drupal. And we paid a lot for this business. We finished paid last year, hundreds of thousands. We just got the rent doubled this month. And then I find out whatever is going to happen. I'm not against the progress, the innovation, something new. But I don't know if there is any sense to have 5 gas stations within like half mile, I don't know, radius. It's gonna be okay maybe. They have better food than us because we have a pizza shop. They may have better pizzas or something. They have better gas, maybe cheaper, but I don't think so because we have here Drupal, we have Patelia's gas station right here, right, your neighbor, and there is no way for us to compete because this is gonna be. And I don't want to say about the traffic jam, or, congestion or something like that. But if you consider it's a good idea, we can fight with big fish, eat the small one always. But we have families, we have employees, we have to feed other families, and we have customers, which they love us. And I don't know if we can live off of DoorDash, Grubhub. We want to have contact. People come in, have a talk, he said, a year and a half, I'm almost 10 years. And I love this area. And if it's possible to have something, not move them away within like another half mile away or something. Other way, but yeah, big money, I know. I'm like, I can't say much, but my opinion is like we have to fight. And we have to make better for our customers, and because it's going to be tough. I don't want to say percentage, maybe 30–40% we lose, and the money we used to pay for employees, we have to cut hours, we have to send people home. But we are here because, and first of all, I'm supposed to say that thank you so much for giving us the chance to say something. I lived so many years in my childhood, different kind of situations where you can say anything. whatever they will decide for you, you have to do it. But now I have the right to talk, so thank you so much for listening. And maybe we move something, maybe. Because Drupal, okay, it's the gas station, Patel gas station, and the one which is on East University, which is pretty close. What's that name? Snappies. And I don't know if they will be affected much, but they are right here, close to us. And I don't say our product is the best, pizza or subs or, but they're gonna have the same thing, and we're gonna be a little bit affected. I don't say much, but yeah. Again, thank you so much for letting me talk in, and also I have few customers, our employees, and they signed, and if you want to take this in consideration, not much, because even here in the area, it's not population, it's not that like millions, it's few hundred. Thanks so much. Thanks, yeah.
Thank you.
And thanks a lot for giving us the opportunity to maybe to do something, if it's possible. If not, okay, we'll survive somehow, you know. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Take care.
Is there anyone else? Thank you very much. The next item on the agenda is new agenda items. Are there any new agenda? Are there any new agenda items that any members of council would like to add to the agenda tonight? Okay, all right. Next item on the agenda tonight are plans. We have a Penn State Animal Diagnostics Lab master plan. This is a potential action item with approval of a preliminary final land development plan. Can you give us the details on that?
Absolutely. Wasn't it decided that it would go straight to general forum and not back to the municipalities?
No, I meant,
Because now I'm thinking we should have sent it back to municipalities to have these types of conversations. But it might be too late.
you know, I'm thinking if it goes to general forum, they're gonna give us the okay to drop down to one committee. But then that new committee will refine the mission statement, goals, objectives, and tasks.
Right, I just hope that the municipalities have conversations similar to the ones that we're having right now. Like, oh, let's make sure we memorialize the sustainability, let's make sure this lives on, let's make sure it's embedded. And if it goes straight to general forum and those conversations don't happen, then it's less
Well,
likely.
we know one municipality will push for that. And I think that's really important, what you're saying, Rich, especially in the event that Pam is not the planner. Because if that's not codified in those documents, a new planner that comes in that may not have that sustainability grounding and lens might not necessarily understand that part of the mission. So there will need to be strong voices who advocate for that as it moves through the
Absolutely.
process, so.
Yeah, good point, Rich.
Thanks.
Yep,
Okay.
And I vote for Eric too.
see?
I'll give you my proxy.
Okay. The next up, we have CC, okay, so township meetings. Gretchen, CTIDA?
Did not meet since
Okay.
last week.
I do, okay, and how about Spring Creek Watershed?
I'm sorry, did not meet since last.
Okay. Public safety hasn't met. I will share that I attended the Eagle Scout Court of Honor for Connor McGinnis, a College Township Eagle Scout now. His project was Teens Night Out. It's a replicable evening for teens who make their own music and like to play music together, and he's partnered with the Jana Marie Foundation, working on their mission to improve teen mental health and suicide prevention. So it's a really good turnout, both from the scouting community, but also from the local leadership community, and it was a great afternoon. So, anybody else attend anything else besides PSATs? Okay. All right. Any other? We have a written PC report. Was there anything you wanted to add to that, Lindsay, from our PC rep?
No, Mount Airy Manor will be coming to council shortly.
Any other staff reports? We do have the DEIB report as written. Did you want to go through that for
I
us,
can,
or-
yeah, that's fine. So in terms of month-long observations, this month is Asian American and Pacific Islander Heritage Month, Haitian Heritage Month, Jewish American Heritage Month, and Mental Health Awareness Month. Also, as far as specific days and holidays, May 16th is Armed Forces Day, May 17th, International Day Against Homophobia, Transphobia, and Biphobia. May 21st is Global Accessibility Awareness Month, and May 25th, of course, is Memorial Day.
Thank you. All right, our next item is the consent agenda. Tonight, we have on the consent agenda, we have CA1, we have the minutes, we have CA1A, the minutes of the April 2nd meeting. The CA1B is the April 16th public hearing minutes, and CA1C is April 16th College Township Council regular meeting minutes. CA2A correspondence was email from Trish Schallenberger dated April 13th regarding the annual walk to remember our fallen. CA2B is a letter from CBICC regarding the Flight State College Fund. CA2C is an email from Robert Flitchbaugh dated April 20th regarding the Crew 814 Land Development Plan unit increase. CA2D is a letter from Pantera regarding a time extension for the St. Ives Canterbury Crossing PRD. CA2E is a letter from Ron Ferris regarding sewer service on Shiloh Road. CA2F is a letter from Bellefonte Historical Railroad Society regarding the railroad crossing work at Mount Nittany Road. And CA2G is a letter from Center County Planning and Community Development regarding the West Nile Virus Program. And CA2H is a letter from Mid-State Literacy Council regarding the Spelling Bee sponsorship. CA3A are CA3 are action items. CA3A is Resolution R-26-15 UAJA Oakwood Trunk Sewer Relocation Planning Module. CA3B is the CIPP bid award. CA3C is Resolution R-26-16 CATA local match. CA3D is Resolution R-26-17 recognizing May as Bike Month. CA3E is Proclamation P-26-5 recognizing May as Asian Pacific American Heritage Month. CA3F is a letter from Ed and Julie Maxwell requesting a noise waiver, and CA3G is revisions to policy A-008, safety clothing and eyeglass reimbursement. Would any members of council like to pull any of the consent agenda items?
Move to approve the consent agenda?
Okay.
Second?
All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, same sign. Okay. The consent agenda as presented is approved. Next is old business. The first item on old business is the conditional use permit request from the Legacy Boxing and Combat Academy. Lindsay, would you like to give us the information?
I sure would. Thank you so much, Madam Chair. So this conditional use for the Legacy Boxing and Combat Academy LLC, Council has held and now closed the required public hearings for the conditional use. And after the last public hearing, discussed the details of the request during the regular meeting. Since then, staff worked with the township solicitor and the applicant's attorney, who is present tonight, to prepare the following recommended conditions. Number one is to install a light fixture at the rear entrance of the building, include the light fixture specifications for township review. Number two, obtain all required permits, including a change of use permit and any required permit from Center Regional Code Agency. In addition to those conditions, staff was charged with answering some questions that council brought up at the last meeting from the April discussion. So I'm going to go through those briefly with you. If the development was brand new, what elements of the ordinance would be required? So under our existing subdivision and land development ordinance, we would see streets, sidewalks, street trees, fire apparatus access, streets and entrance lighting, sewage planning, water supply, ENS controls, exterior illumination, landscape buffering and screening, and so forth. So that's what we would have to see under our existing subdivision and land development if this was a brand new development. Under our proposed draft hybrid form-based code, the modifications of existing buildings is permitted by right, so long as they're not changing too much with parking or requiring on-site stormwater. So that would be able to move forward by right. In addition, the code also considers general location of all buildings, the block and the road systems, open space, parking, bicycles and automobiles, landscaping, fencing, and street type design, and signs. So all of those things would be incorporated into a new submission under our form-based code. So then one council member asked about impacts beyond the property, and we had a little discussion about it. Sidewalks, I added a note that I parked at the mall and I walked across East College Avenue to try to get to the Channel Communications building. And, you know, there's a sidewalk available, decibel.
Yes.
Decibel, thanks, Dawn. And then when you get to the business that, you approach the first business, and if you turn into their driveway and into their parking area, it brings you to the side door that has the sign on it for the mixed martial arts.
Yeah, but you have to go,
There, when you walk, if you want to access the front door, you can, there is a dip and a small hill. So I just wanted to figure out if someone did want to walk there, how would they be able to access it? Then I completed my walk, you know, back and like over to Clyde and to where the sidewalk ended, seeing if I could access it from a back way, but there really isn't a way to get through other businesses to actually arrive at the establishment itself. So we did that, and then of course street lights and street trees would be something that would be off-site too, that we would have to consider. So I wanted to make you aware of that little walk. Council also discussed a potential fee in lieu program for this type of development and reuse. So flashing back to planning law class, years and years ago, legislatively enacted fees such as a fee in lieu must meet the criteria of an essential nexus, or have an essential nexus and rough proportionality tests. So to establish the essential nexus, there has to be a clear connection between the conditional use and the need for the public improvement. And to establish the rough proportionality, the amount of the fee must be roughly proportional to the impact the development has on the community. So in a nutshell, the fee in lieu is considered, if a fee in lieu is considered, we have to demonstrate that that fee in lieu meets both of those tests. We feel that that's a worthwhile discussion, and I think that's good to know for moving forward. We still feel that the two conditions mentioned earlier regarding the light and the permits and the codes should move forward with the conditional use as are established additional conditions. So going into the findings of fact and conclusions and decision of law that was included in your packet tonight, we worked with Dave Engel and Lewis to incorporate what council discussed into that document. It was there for your review. If you saw anything that you wanted to add, or if you saw something that Mr. Engel prepared that you don't agree with, or you want to modify that, we would be happy to do that. If you feel that that draft is adequate, we can move forward tonight with the approval. If not, note that council has 45 days to make a decision after the closing of the public hearing, which then that takes us to June 21st. So there would be some other opportunities for council to discuss. So that is what is in the memo, and if anyone has any questions, I'm here, Mr. Glantz is here as our solicitor, and Mr. Engel is here as the applicant's attorney.
Okay, thank you. So we have a potential action item in terms of approving the draft, it's a draft ordinance, correct?
No,
The permit.
yeah, it would be the draft
Conditional
findings
use
of
permit.
fact, yeah, and the conditional use permit,
Okay,
yeah.
and the conditional use permit. So with that, I'll open it up. Eric, would you like to make comments, ask questions?
Yeah, I was the one who asked at the last meeting if we should look at this in the context of the zoning district that allowed this, and then Rich brought up the even better point of looking at the lens of what we hope will be the future zoning district. So I think I heard you say that under form-based code, the requirements would be minimal,
Yeah.
and they're somewhat subjective.
Yeah, with the, for an existing use.
Yeah, for use, but when it originally goes in, it would be
Yeah.
all of those things.
If it were this process, it would be fairly simple and straightforward because
Right.
it's a by right. But yeah, as Rich said, we.
So even if it was form-based code, if it was a vacant lot and they were building it, all the items that you listed first would have to be met, all those requirements would have to be met.
Yeah.
So it seems to me that we ought to fall somewhere in between that, but close to the reuse. Or from that standpoint, the reuse.
Right.
Seems to, I want this to happen. But this, I'm sensitive to precedent and what we allow because we create a decision of record.
Exactly. Well, if we were doing this, say, this time next year, we wouldn't have a conditional use hearing
Right.
for it. It would just be a by right. And I think the whole goal of allowing this as a conditional use for this process here for council to have the discussion, to add a conditions, to consider what's going to happen in the future, which I think will give us a good indication of what we can expect, I think, coming down the line.
So the only thing that really stuck out to me was the pedestrian access from adjacent properties. And, because I've walked that through there, and you really can't get that path when there's snow on the ground because the snow is plowed.
They would plow it right there.
Yeah. So, I mean, if that's important, and it should be if we're thinking about walkable communities. So, to what weight does that bring to this discussion? And then all I would say to that is, if the group thinks that it's important to have those pedestrian connections, would fee in lieu be appropriate that would allow us in the future to somehow connect those parcels? Is that appropriate? Because what I heard you say is it needs to be proven that it's needed, but does that mean that it's needed because we have to prove that it's actually needed, or it's needed because that's in our zoning district requirement? Is that the definition of needed? Is that because the property owner needs to do that in order to get the plan approved, or do you actually have to prove that there's enough of a pedestrian movement between the two sites to justify the investment?
Yeah. I would say it's the last thing you said, but I would look to.
That it's required, that if we were looking at it as form-based code, it would be something that would be required.
Yeah, and then, but the need for when you said about the need for the public improvement, I think that's the thing that has to be connected.
I agree with what Lindsay said and what Eric said at the end. Not that the ordinance requirement makes it needed, that it's needed, it's actually needed on the ground.
Yeah, and that's the tough part, because, we can't really gauge how much is there now, but as the rest of the parcels develop, who knows downstream, that could become an important missing connection.
Yeah.
So I don't know, those are my thoughts. The only thing I'm really still debating is to whether that's a valid condition.
Yeah, we had a discussion about it, you know, about potentially who would be walking to the use. You know, drop your kids off, go over the mall, you know, something along those lines. I'm not quite sure. So we just tried to figure that out, and how, you know, potentially how many pedestrians would want to access that. But in the future too, you know, you have the properties over coming
Yes.
towards this way. There's an opportunity there, I think, for the future, even for
And
more
Decibel is a
pedestrians.
controlled intersection, so that's the natural place for pedestrian crossing from that side of the road to come across and potentially access the site.
Yeah,
Unless you walk the railroad tracks and then go up.
yeah.
So that's the remaining concern that I have. I'm interested in what others think. I could support it either way.
This brings up something, we had a conversation, I would love to get the opinion of our solicitor. I'm kind of hesitant, would we even have the authority to require a pedestrian connection through somebody else's private property, which would be the old Comcast building? There's when we were having this discussion before, that would make a logical connection to that building, but I don't know that we as a township have the authority to say, yeah, you have to make a connection to someone else's property so people can walk through that to get to your.
I don't think so. And there's I've seen a lot of examples in the township where sidewalks get built, and if you're driving by, you look at it and say, where's that go? It goes to the next property, but until that property does something, it doesn't mean anything. The car wash off Struble Road, I remember talking to Paul Sillis when he was building it about, where's that sidewalk go? And it's really nowhere. Someday it probably will, but it's just to the property line. And I even had a development I guess that was Ferguson, where we had to build a sidewalk to the next property, which is now a Rite Aid. It wasn't then. But it went to a dumpster. I mean, at the time it seemed silly, but that's all the further we as landowners could build. I think now they've probably connected it to the Rite Aid parking lot, but I think that's the limitation.
Yeah, no. Other than the fact that I lived in Park Forest when there was a whole bunch of those pieces of sidewalk.
And
that
eventually they
connected
go
one.
somewhere.
And now today, there's a continuous
Yeah.
piece of sidewalk all the way into campus, so you gotta start somewhere.
Gretchen?
Ditto, you have to start somewhere. And I've been listening to these council meetings for a long time now, and I've heard it said so many times, oh, well, that piece of, I would go to nowhere. Well, that, over and over and over and over and over and over. And if you don't start somewhere, how are you ever gonna make it happen? And if that's always the excuse, then you're never gonna have connectivity. It doesn't make any sense. I think that we're at a stage now where there's a window of opportunity, it's ripe, it's sitting right in front of us. Dale Summit, you know, form-based code, everything that you all have been working so hard on for so long to make, and every meeting I go to, I feel like people are talking about it. Well, how do we connect College Township? You know, how's the new ARL? We need to make sure that that continues so that it can go to campus, and if it goes to campus, it automatically goes to downtown, because campus is a lovely place to walk on to get to downtown. So you're literally connecting what we want to thrive and grow and to live, work, and play, as we keep talking about, to that corridor all the way to campus. And unless we start somewhere, it's never going to happen. And in terms of that was a good question, Eric, about need. What's the definition of need? And need on you know, what we need on the ground. That's what I interpreted the spirit of that to mean as well. And the thing is that, you know, we're sitting here saying, oh, well, I'm trying to imagine who would want to walk there. Well, nobody wants to walk there because it's not safe and it's not pleasant. And so is there a need? We have no idea if there's a need. There could be a need if it were walkable, if it were a multi-use path where people could go from, you know, the mall area all the way to, yeah, there'd be a need. People want to do it. We hear that in every meeting we attend. But there's not going to be a need when it's unsafe, unpleasant, loud, you know, there's trash on the ground, and people are walking it. And people are riding bikes already. It's extremely dangerous. It's not pleasant, but they're doing it. And so we have to start somewhere. We have to. If we just continuously say, oh, well, that square doesn't go to the next square, it will never happen. And we can sit here and talk about it a decade from now and say, oh, well, we decided not to do it back then. Or we can actually think outside the box and go, how do we actually make the connectivity start to happen? And you all have already done that over the past several years. You've done amazing work on this. So let's just keep it going and not keep using that excuse.
Thank you. Rich?
I think the testament to that is one of our regular presenters no longer uses the phrase of sidewalk to nowhere. They're just sidewalks with less traffic. So, a question kind of to Louis is, and not for this one honestly, but just in general, is requiring a property owner to get an easement from an adjoining property owner for this kind of travel, is that a reasonable condition or not?
I would say not, because there's no legal process to do that.
Okay.
Even if you were landlocked, just as an aside, Pennsylvania used to be able, you used to be able to become a condemning authority to get an easement to your property if you were landlocked. This isn't landlocked. You can't do that anymore. A court said that's unconstitutional, so the answer I'd say is no.
Yeah, you see some of those landlocked parcels at tax sale and
well, I represent Snowshoe Township. They're all over the place.
Yeah.
Some of them were cut off by 80, some of them were cut off by old railroads. It's a real mess up there with landlocked properties.
Yeah. I like the process we used. I think the conditions are very reasonable. It's not a bad, for an out of place or out of use property, it's not bad. And we're fortunate in that, you know, that it is in that zone, but it's kind of okay use in that they built it that way and everything. So I'm comfortable with that and the conditions that are being presented. The one thing, have we reaffirmed to this property, this is not the first time that we're dealing with a non-conforming use in that parcel. Is that something we've communicated? Do you think they've figured it out yet? Okay.
Yes.
All right. Because if it comes another one, just out of the principle of the matter, I can't see approving it. So just a procedural question. What action are we headed towards? Are we approving the conditional use? Are we approving the findings of fact, conclusion, and decision? What is going to be our ultimate action?
So we're approving the findings of fact and the conditional use permit?
That's what Lindsay had presented, yes.
Okay.
So it would be, and those would go together. We would need to approve
Or
the findings of fact
nothing,
before.
because you have more time.
Right, we have more time.
Did you say June 20?
We have
First.
We have 45 days.
Yeah,
But isn't the 21st a Sunday, or did I look at the wrong
No, it's
month?
a Thursday.
Pardon me?
It's a Thursday.
So the conditions
Thursday.
are actually baked into the
The
findings of
conditions are
fact,
in the-
conclusions.
A, B, and
Yes.
C.
Yeah,
They're-
three,
they're in
they're
the
they're
document.
highlighted in blue.
No, you are right.
Before we close
I am
this
right.
out, I had a couple of questions for Lindsay myself. And they were more related to the memo and understanding how this comports with form-based code. It's our hope that this was an exercise we went through in anticipation that this would be the last time we did this before we had form-based code for Dale Summit, with the hope. And so am I understanding that there will be different requirements when there'll be a reuse of a property? So we talked about an acre of undeveloped land and the requirements that we would make of any development on that land versus the reuse of a property, so something like this. So we would have fewer requirements for that reuse. So in terms of the sidewalks and some of the other requirements, I'm looking, landscaping, buffering. Am I understanding that right?
Well, the way I understand it is that, you know, if you have a non-conforming use and, you know, you want to change it, or if you have a use that you're going to, or a new building that you're going to reuse, is a better example.
Yeah.
So if, the way the code states is that if you're restoring or rehabilitating an existing building, you can get kind of, you don't have to update the parking to match the new use. So if the new use requires more parking, you don't have to do that. That's how this is saying. So you can get that kind of freebie with parking. If stormwater is an issue, unless it is, you know, over an acre and it kicks in the NPDES process, you know, you don't have to do much with stormwater. So those are two things that kind of allow the adaptive reuse to be a little bit more
Attractive.
attractive.
To a developer.
Yeah.
So, and that's something we'll discuss when we get to form-based code.
Oh,
Okay,
yeah, we're gonna
okay.
get into that.
So, right, okay, so that helps me. Okay, so I think, you know, we've discussed, we have two things we need to decide tonight, or three things. We'll decide tonight whether we approve the findings of fact and the conditional use permit with the conditions that are in with the findings of fact. And those are the light, the specifications for the light, and the code approval.
Right.
Or if we can decide that we would like to not make that decision tonight, we can bring that back as old business on a future agenda within 45 days, and then we'll need to make
Yeah,
a
and I
decision.
think the deadline's the 18th, actually. Well, you're meeting, because you're meeting.
Because of the meeting. Oh, yeah, I guess you're right.
Yeah, the date you said actually is a Sunday. I said it was, and you said, someone said I was wrong, and she said I'm right.
So it was
I'm
past
usually
that
wrong
date.
about this
Okay,
thing.
so I should have noted that the meeting before the 21st, so
Yeah.
that would be the 18th. Also in so we would just have to, there's one section in here that says this section might need to be revised depending on what reasonable conditions are adopted. Little cleanup things like that would have to be taken care of if you do take action tonight. Otherwise, we did incorporate the findings in blue on page 5.
Okay. Well, then, at this time, are there any members of council that would like to make a motion on any of the actions that we put forward?
I'm not prepared to make a motion, but I would like council members to consider, if they find it reasonable, the condition of adding at least a sidewalk stub to the edge of the property. I didn't anticipate that it would be reasonable to ask for an easement on an adjacent property, and that's where my comment, you gotta start somewhere. Should the old Comcast building come in for a reuse?
Right.
And we can connect the two.
Well,
And-
Eric, the example I gave where I said I had to build one to a dumpster, it's
Yeah.
now Rite Aid, and I haven't walked down there, but I'm sure it's connected.
Yeah, so that was my point, it's more philosophical.
Because the property got torn down and redeveloped, and that kind of stuff made sense.
So if we add a condition, that would be an additional condition we would add.
Yeah, if there's support, that,
Right.
you know, for the reasons it's already been very clearly articulated, I
Okay.
think. The question is that reasonable? It certainly philosophically fits with the direction we're heading everywhere else.
Sure.
And it-
And just note, if this were a new land development plan, sidewalks are required along the streets. This would require a sidewalk along East College Avenue where the railroad track is. So if it were a new land development plan, we would be dealing right now with whether or not that sidewalk would go in front of the property and then up to, the connection. So I just needed to mention that. There's no sidewalk out in front of the building either along East College Avenue, and that's where you see some people walking and riding their bikes sometimes, and it's kind of cringe.
And so we don't need to do anything other than add that condition if we were to consider that. We don't have to do anything procedurally, technically.
Just add the condition if it's reasonable.
Just add it to the
Yeah.
list of conditions. Okay. Rich, your thoughts?
I would support it. I assume it would go into 9, section 9 of the findings of fact and all that.
Page 5, yeah, right under C.
Section 9. Under C.
And then later in, on page 8 would go in after that too. They're mentioned, the conditions are mentioned in 2
Twice.
places in the document.
Yep. Gretchen? You support adding that condition? to the
Absolutely,
sidewalk? Okay.
yes.
Great. Well, then I think we're all in agreement. Do we need to add that and clean up the document and bring it back for final discussion?
Well,
Before we approve it?
if you're just adding a sidewalk to the property line, and you can specify where it is, you could vote on it now as long as you're clear on as long as Lindsay is clear on what you're saying. I'm
So would
not,
the
'cause I'm
sidewalk
not.
stub go from just the building itself, where the sidewalk is, over to the end of the property toward the Comcast building?
I think if we're not clear, we should clarify that and bring this back as an old
Yeah, I mean,
business
there's
item
great
and make
issues.
sure it's, and the document might need to be cleaned up in that section, so I think we've agreed we want to put the sidewalk in as an additional condition, but we need to have clarification on the specifications of that.
Plus, this hasn't been discussed with the property owner at this point, it affords the
Right, that's the
opportunity.
one condition I'll have to go back
Okay.
to her about, because I'll need to know how many linear feet it is and all
Okay.
this.
And I would offer, since I'm the one that keeps bringing it up, I don't really care where it is. What we're trying to do is foster interconnectivity,
The opportunity for,
the opportunity for it. So whatever makes the most sense and looks like it would be the best place should Comcast come back, what makes sense to run the stub to, given the layout and the geography and the grade of the adjacents of both sites.
Ditto.
Great. We can work with Lewis and Mr. Engel to figure that out and then bring you back the details and a newly prepared decision of law and conclusion.
And you don't have to wait till the 18th, that was just the deadline, you could do it at the next meeting.
right,
Yeah.
could potentially an exhibit, I don't know.
Oh, actually, let me
engineering.
project this right now. I have it up quickly, so just making sure we know where. So this is the site, College Avenue out here. This is where the sidewalk would be required if this were a new land development plan. When we walked, we went down Decibel over through the parking lot.
It's gonna be a really short distance.
Yeah, I
but
mean,
there's
it's
a-
just a time, if you.
There's a grade issue there.
Yeah, the grade issue is mostly this right here. If you walk just here, there's a door with a sign that says, that Boxing Academy side entrance. If, like Eric said, if someone's plowing there, their snow would be plowed up there, but yeah, if that's where you're talking about the stub that comes out just to the property line, or are you talking about something out here?
No, I'm talking about somewhere in there where you put a stub, where if we were to look at the Comcast site in the same kind of situation, what would be the easiest way for the two sites to connect?
Okay.
And let's ask for the half on this site now. Let's not just run it right into that grade, because then we're gonna be faced with an issue when Comcast comes in that says, we're gonna have to put,
Yeah.
steps in or something.
Okay.
Yeah, we don't want the outflow into traffic in the adjoining property, potentially into traffic.
So it could be anywhere,
Yeah, I mean,
anywhere that
there's
makes.
somewhere along there that it could go.
The best place that, once it's in, somebody could walk and feel comfortable walking on the grass the rest of the way until it gets finished. you know, on the Comcast, or whatever,
Yeah.
it's not Comcast
When you're
anymore.
finished, I have to talk to Dave about something out in the hall. Not
Harris.
The old Harris, finished on this subject. I didn't think you were keeping me.
Is that enough direction, Lindsay?
I think it is. I think we can figure it out, and we will, and we'll bring it back to you next time. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Good conversation. Thank you.
Thanks, Louis.
Thank you, Louis.
I have to talk to Dave about something else.
Now
Okay.
you did it, Dave.
Thanks.
All right. Next up is OB2. This is the Beaver Stadium signage ordinance amendment. This is also a potential action item tonight. If we agree on the draft ordinance, then we can set a public hearing tonight. So Lindsay, would you like to?
Actually, I was gonna give it a shot
Is
to
that you?
lead
Oh,
out a
okay,
little
you
bit.
can.
But Lindsay and Mark are both here to support me in this.
You're representing for the Community and Economic Development staff. Thank
There you go. Okay, so as council is well aware, we have tussled with this particular issue for several meetings. Good conversations, recommendation from the Planning Commission about basically dealing with large-scale venues and the amount of signage that is currently allowed versus consideration for additional amounts of signage in these types of venues. Specifically, we've been looking at expanding allowable signage area to better reflect the scale of the venues, of regulating illuminated and digital signage to mitigate off-site impacts, establishing clear operational parameters for signage during events, and incorporating modern lighting standards, including dark sky principles. And essentially, the ordinance that we have here tonight has done all of those things. Additionally, within the ordinance that we have a number of new and updated definitions. We also have a revised sign area calculation. And we also have addressed the lighting duration controls and illuminated signage standards. And we've also addressed issues involving electronic and digital signage. And in this particular clause, we have talked about, and the ordinance reflects, that there's a height limitation, and that height limitation is identified at up to 25 feet. So essentially, any electronic or digital signage can be no more than 25 feet from I think we are using the average finished grade of the building. So with that, those are the particulars that have been incorporated into the ordinance. Council is being asked to review the ordinance, provide any final comments or revisions, and barring any substantive changes, council could make a motion to advertise a public hearing. Now, that said, we did receive correspondence, which has been included in your packet, from Penn State University, and they have made a request in that letter that council gives some further consideration to allow illuminated digital and electronic signage. Basically, we're talking about not the illuminated, but they are asking specifically about the digital and electronic signage at a height up to 45 feet for appropriately scaled venues. As I mentioned, the ordinance is written with a language that was discussed by council, which is a maximum height limitation for the digital and electronic signage at 25 feet. And Penn State has provided this correspondence making a request for reconsideration to a height of 45 feet for those signs. And with that, that is a very quick overview, and I skipped a lot of detail, but I don't know if, Lindsay, you had anything more that you felt that we should convey to council before they begin their deliberations.
We did present the new updated ordinance to Jonathan, our lighting expert. So I just wanted to let you know that too. And he was pleased that we added some back, some of the dark sky information back into it. And he also did, we discussed 500 nits versus 300 nits for nighttime. And the recommendation was to go down to 300 because 500 at night is still kind of, you squint, makes you squint a little. So that's the only thing I needed to add.
Okay. Well, let's get started. Rich, do you have comments?
I'm
We
talked
would like
out.
to hear your comments.
I'm talked out on signs. For that scale of a venue, I have absolutely no problem with the top of the sign being at 45 feet.
Eric?
Actually, I agree with Rich. And I know I said at the last meeting I was comfortable with 25. I didn't realize that the existing sign video board was above 25 feet,
Yeah.
because I look at it and I don't have any problem with it. I just thought it was already under 25 feet. But as I got to thinking about it after I read the request, we're allowing illuminated signs above 25 feet. So, but we're limiting digital signs to 25 feet, but the specs for both, the nits and the brightness, are identical. Am I correct?
I believe,
According to this chart here,
yes, you're correct. I'm getting head nods from the
the 3,000.
technical experts.
The specs that control the brightness.
Yeah, that's specific to the electronic and digital.
Right.
So
And I'm not
any-
naive. I realize digital signs can have moving and
Yep,
stuff.
that's the biggest difference.
But according to this, we're still limiting those digital signage at whatever height they are to day of event.
Yeah.
Correct?
Yes.
So it's all starting to come together for me now with those limitations. And if we were limiting all illuminated signs at 25 feet, I think it would be a different story, because we would have said, hey, nothing above 25 feet, whether it's static illumination or moving. But we're allowing static illumination above 25 feet, a certain percentage that counts towards there. So having seen the video board that was in use, that was above 25 feet, didn't give me any heartburn at all in the scale of that context, and then matching that with the fact that we're already allowing illuminated signs above 25 feet, I have far less heartburn now with allowing digital signs above 45 or above 25 feet at whatever. And didn't we agree, or didn't we see something that showed 45 feet is still below the
Yeah, I
top
did
of the
put it
first
up on the
level?
screen, the 45 feet, the line there. So you can see illuminated is the head, that's illuminated. If that were electronic, the Nittany Lion head on top, it wouldn't be permitted, but it's permitted as it is now as illuminated.
Right, so just to wrap up my comments, given the conditions we already have in place, that the brightness and all of those it's restricted to the same as the illuminated signs that we allow above 25 feet. And it appears that the digital sign at whatever level it is, 25, 45, can only be on till 10 o'clock at night or an hour after the event is over. Am I reading that correctly?
Yes, you are.
So with those very strict conditions, I'm with Rich. I don't have any heartburn with 45 feet.
Yeah, I think we have the protections in place really that I think, to kind of satisfy the community's concerns and, what Penn State is looking to request.
But everything else we talked about last month, I'm fine with.
I'd like to hear Susan's comment.
I'm going to exercise chair's prerogative tonight and ask you to comment first.
I'm more
We've heard
comfortable
good
with the
comments.
25 feet.
With the 25 feet. Any particular?
I mean, as minimal as we can do is what I would, so I think if this is the one little spot where I can contribute to the conversation, because it was already pretty much done before I got here, then it would be that I'm more comfortable with the 25 feet.
Thank you. I appreciate you making the comment, Gretchen. And so that puts us in a situation where we may not have consensus tonight because, my concern is, again, less is more, and I'm concerned about the impact. I can see what you're saying about, we have restrictions in place that at 45 feet, we have limited use in terms of events and time and also the brightness of the signs. My concern is that will we have more video display boards? We don't have a limitation in place right now that says we have one and that's what we're having. So there could potentially be, with the extra square footage, there could be more of those, and would that contribute to more illumination? It's unclear to me. And I'm struggling with this one because in a sense I would like to be done with this and to move it forward and to be able to get this set up. But if we do this and we establish a precedent, I am concerned that that height could become more of a problem in the future.
If someone built another Beaver Stadium, yes, that would be the precedent. That's the big difference, is that's a very unique structure.
It is a unique structure. I don't disagree. Eric?
Well, yeah, and no, I hear what you're saying. There still is also the limiting factor that it counts towards the illuminated signage. So if you go all video boards, then you're not going to have any square footage left for illuminated signs.
That is a limitation with the square footage total.
Yeah. So maybe to reach consensus, maybe we have a second threshold for total square footage when it applies to digital. If we were to go to 45 feet, if the concern was that all the square footage could then be used as illuminated, either illuminated or digital, maybe we have a smaller cap. I'm just tossing that out there, trying to reach something we can all work with, because that would address, and maybe the cap is such that there can really only be one big video board, and it can be at 45. And then that might address the concern that we wrap the stadium with video boards as high as 45 feet.
Yeah.
But you could also, an example in the borough, because we worked through that, is on the pylon sign, the digital was allowed, and it was limited to a quantity and a total square footage in that vein.
Which one is the pylon sign?
One on South Atherton Street. The only digital one on South Atherton Street.
Maybe it's a 2-to-1 or 3-to-1. For every digital signage that you use 2 or 3 times as much.
Yeah.
Am I saying this right?
Yeah.
If you have 100 square feet and you want it to be digital, you really only get 33 or 50 or something. And just tossing some ideas out that maybe we can.
And I see Julian. Julian, I'm going to have you wait just a second. Gretchen?
Yeah, I've already said what I
Okay.
think.
Julian?
Yeah, good evening, everybody. I just have a question really on procedure, and then just to offer a comment in response to Susan, to your comment. For what it's worth, right now, and for the foreseeable future, we don't have any other plans for digital, non-static moving signage on the building such as this one, and mounted at 25 feet, and the top of it would be at 45 feet. Understanding that, that could change, but that kind of leads me to my question: is there a mechanism that council can approve or deny future requests in that sense?
That was, if I may.
Please.
That was one of the things that was contemplated, I believe, was it in the memo, or is it actually stated in the ordinance about council having to approve?
Yeah, there is
It's a
something.
May permit.
May.
Says may
That's what
permit
it
on
is.
line
That's
95.
Yeah. On which line, Eric?
Well.
I'm
for
looking
the
at
dig-
87, but,
Well, and I think that's illuminated, but I think if you go down to 95, it says.
Oh, there
may
it
permit
is.
May
digital
permit electrical.
or electronic.
may be permitted up to 25 feet. I mean, we have that language in there that allows for council to exercise their discretion even with the 25 feet. If it was to be considered up to 45 feet, they would still have to get the authorization from council to do that.
So is what you're saying is each one would need to be authorized to 45
Yes.
feet?
Yes, because these signs are not permitted in the UPD, but council has the authority to grant that in a certain situation. So you could say, yes, we're good with this one sign at 45 feet, and if they come back next year and say, we want one on the other side, you can say, nope, we're done. You've got no, you're not obligated to grant them the electronic digital signs. You have the ability to grant them, but you are not obligated, and it is not a sign by right for them.
Probably should have led with that.
Yeah, I was gonna say, within the restrictions of all the other restrictions of the ordinance.
Right.
Because you can't, just because we've said yes, it can't violate some other element of the
Yeah, so.
overall ordinance.
So technically, if you chose to say, there's no height limit on these signs, and they come in and say, I want one at the top, you can say, nope, you don't get it. If you want it, this is your cap, take it or leave it. That's kind of the magic with this, because these signs are not permitted in this district, but council has the authority to authorize them here only for stadiums, arenas, or event centers. And if you can authorize it, you can set the rules for each sign one at a time as they come in.
And to follow that, I reached out to our solicitor about that specifically, allowing council to have the discretion to allow video boards in a different zoning district if they're only currently allowed in commercial and industrial. And Lewis said that if we make it specific to the UPD, like council may permit electronic and digital signs, including video boards for stadiums, arenas, and event centers located outside of the commercial and industrial zoning districts or within the UPD. Specify UPD there, and so you don't have, someone in R1 making the request. But then again, we talk about township-wide, so there's a little discussion there, I think, still. But that may and allowing council's discretion gives you some flexibility. Or teeth.
Sorry, I know everyone's waiting for me to speak, and I'm trying to think. There's a lot here. And the concern I have is that right now, we don't have consensus. We have 4 members of council, and we have, unless your comments are changed based on the comments we've had, I'm in line with you at 25 feet. And so that means we don't have consensus tonight. We have consensus, I believe, on all the other requirements and conditions that are in the signage ordinance, including the illumination and the square footage. But it's the digital sign that I don't think we're going to reach consensus on tonight.
Agreed, that's what it appears where we're headed. So I would offer the following. Because of the way that we have constructed the ordinance, I don't think that we can parse any particular provisions out of here and adopt anything this evening, or set something for a public hearing this evening. And I think that procedurally, that would become very difficult anyway, even if we had the ability to do that. That said, so this is coming back to council, but I think in order for staff to do its due diligence on behalf of council, council needs to determine what things we need to look at. And I mean, we know that we're concentrating on the signage, on the video board issue. We know there's a height consideration, but Eric had thrown out a possibility of a different kind of formula or a different way to calculate. Is that something that council would like staff to work on, to develop one or two alternatives that could be incorporated into an ordinance that may begin to address the issue in order to gain consensus?
Yes.
Okay.
The question is the conditions. The question is the conditions.
Right.
And I'm not sure exactly how to go through that, because I think right now we have a clear division. We have 25 and we have 45 feet. I think you answered some of the questions, Lindsay and Mark, that Eric, you brought up in the conditions you discussed, by saying this is something that we may permit in the future. We may. So, you know, I can't make that decision tonight. I can't. I need to think about that. And maybe just I need to think about that condition, because that was not clear to me in the reading. So that might be sufficient. Is there something else there for you, Gretchen, because you're at 25 feet as well?
No, I'm out of words.
Okay.
Just one other thing to consider, but possibly, so in line 91, you're indicating illuminated signage located above 25 feet shall not exceed 30% of the venue's total signage. So maybe something similar to that for the video, that you're limiting it, you know, to some
You could have.
percentage.
Yeah, it's percentage square foot, digital percentage square foot illuminated.
Because that is the difference. It is the digital versus the illuminated.
Yeah.
Because the illuminated standards are very clear, and they minimize the impact of the illuminated signs above 25 feet. I think that's I agree with Rich.
Yeah.
It's just a possibility, and what that looks like as far as the total square footage. I mean, you're gonna find our TV screen on the side of Beaver Stadium, you know, how effective is that? You know, why even bother, you know, that kind of thing. That's what I'm trying to avoid. If it's gonna be done, I think it should be tasteful, it should be effective, and everything like that. We've got umpteen restrictions down on this. I'm not quite sure who we're protecting so hard in it, and but that seems like a low-hanging one and a consistent one, actually. You know, looking at illuminated sign versus the digital and all that.
Very good.
I would offer that doing that is a healthy exercise for discussion, even if we ultimately do not reach a unanimous decision, and we reach a split decision, having gone through that exercise of vetting those options, talking about them, at least whatever decision we end up with, we can fall back and say, well, yeah, we talked about that, and that's what we decided, versus, oh, we didn't think about that.
Okay.
So I would offer that. I
Thank you.
know I'm giving away your staff time, but
No, well, I mean, that's why we're here, so.
It's about getting it right.
It's about getting it right, and it's also about meeting the needs or yes, it's about meeting the needs that council has in order to come to a decision. So that in and of itself is not perplexing to me or to staff. And then we'll do some work on that, and we'll come back and we'll present you with maybe one, possibly two different ways that we might be able to address the particular issue. And council can have a similar discussion as you're having here this evening.
Well, and I want to thank you all for what you've said, because sometimes it is difficult to make a decision quickly when the conversation has progressed. And that's where I am tonight, and it's a few more weeks, but I'll be able to make a better decision when I have that time to consider. So I appreciate that.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions or comments from staff?
I think we got it. We'll be back.
Thank you. All right, the next item up is new business. So the new business, NB1, is the COG draft fund balance policy. And I believe you're going to give us that.
Sure. Obviously, a lot of this is going to be deferred to the College Township representative of the Finance Committee, but essentially what you have in front of you is a culmination of years' worth of work by the COG Finance Committee in terms of actually formulating a standardized COG fund balance policy. And the point of this tonight is for council to review the policy and have discussion. We have to provide comments back to the COG executive director before May 7th. We're kind of right there, but we'll get them over as quickly as we can. But essentially, the policy is intended to establish a framework for recording and managing and reporting all these fund balances across COG agencies and programs. It's got a structured funding model to guide municipalities in building and maintaining appropriate reserve levels over a 1 to 5 year period. And the goal is to strengthen the financial stability, improve transparency, and ensure the responsible stewardship of shared public resources. Essentially, the Finance Committee has worked with all of the various agencies in terms of working to identify what an appropriate fund balance policy should be. For the most part, it appears that the Finance Committee has settled upon a rule of thumb of reserving or having a fund balance available that represents approximately 3 months worth of expenses for the agency. That has been 1 month worth of expenses for a particular agency. I've even misread that then. But anyway, it's something on the order of about 8.3% of an agency's budget. However, there are a number of different entities within the COG that rule of thumb won't apply to. And those would be things like COG building capital, fire in some cases parks. So at this point, I'm not sure how council wants to deconstruct this or to tackle it, but that's essentially the overall presentation and introduction that I have.
Thank you. Rich. As an architect and engineer of this.
No, the COG staff gets the lion's shares. We opined in, made it as simple or difficult as we could. The executive summary, I think, is very good, and hopefully that helps. The actual fund, the policy, the book of policies, we tried to construct very similar. So, there's certain points that it helped in our review as we went, because we knew right where we're going. And the biggest one was that how long are we funding this for? Just as a reference, the government finance officers recommend 90 days for this. And we quickly looked at that and said, yeah, no. The managers' heads will explode and everything will blow their budgets up. But more than that, actually, the reason that we hone back in is because the COG has excellent payers. So the municipality, that reduce, the fund balance is supposed to really offset the risk of cash flow. Well, they've got great payers, so that minimizes that considerably. And we went to the under results, you'll see that the reserve equal to 30 days of the current budget's total expenditure. But the one exception for that is the library, because as we've seen with the state budget impasses, that has impacted that agency more than anybody, and everything, because they have the most outside funds coming in from that pot of money and everything. As Adam indicated, the capital funds, there is no formula for that. Things need done. Where this actually, the risk or potential of this one is the 6C. The 6C really helps because it's going to be well communicated and brought forward, and you'll see it coming, and you can work through those things that will govern more of it. The CIP did that a lot too, so it was good. The enterprise funds, that's a different animal, different, we're not putting money into those, so nothing really to have under theirs. The one exception I might have on that one, pools operating, if they can't be open, they can't pay their bills and things like that. But historically, it's not been an issue with the pools operating. At one point, the pools were even paying the pool's capital, which was wonderful, which is unheard of, and everything. But everyone felt pretty comfortable in the pools, pools operating, being able to pay all their bills and not be subsidized around the region. We're seeing multiple pools that have had to close because they couldn't be they couldn't be operated, let alone maintained.
We have really good pools.
We really do, don't we? We have really a lot of good things, we are blessed in that, on the work of our peers before us and everything. So I really don't have anything on the fund balance policy per se to really offer. Again, I hope the executive summary provided the method to the madness and everything. So then it comes into, okay, that looks great. How much is it going to cost? And then how are we going to pay for it, kind of thing. So we asked staff to create various, number one, to put a face on it. What kind are we talking? And it's right around 700,000 and change, not a small number. And so then, what does it look like paying it over, how short a period and everything like that. So 3, 4, 5. Putting my manager hat on, I would definitely say go for the 5-year option. I've been pursuing this for twice as long, so I'm comfortable if we actually fund it accordingly in 5 years, kind of thing.
If I may, I think ultimately we'll probably end up at a longer period of time.
Okay.
3, 4, 5. I think we'll probably end up there based on regional input. I would tell you that my preference would actually be to fund my portion of this in 3 years to reduce some of the uncertainty going forward. I mean, my rationale there was that a lot can happen in 5 years. And depending upon, I don't want to get to year 5 and have to go 2 more years to hit my target with a fund balance as budgets grow, et cetera, et cetera. So personally, I'm comfortable with any of these numbers, any of the time periods, but my preference would actually be to fund it in a shorter period of time, because I think there's more certainty for the municipality. It's an interesting theory, right?
Yeah, well, and then the other thing, we got it broke down to College Township's portion.
Right.
So the 3-year is 29,000 roughly.
Right.
The 4-year is 22,000, and the 5-year is 17 and change and stuff like that. So it's not going to break it's not gonna break us on any of those numbers. Actually, the uncertainty is really why I'm thinking, because, and in particular, the discussion that, from my last finance report, plus the general forum report of what CPI's doing right now. We need a little, some of that money's gonna go to that, that might have gotten us here faster. That was the only, that fact is what factored into my mind.
So the concept is this would be paid over a series of years until we've actually hit the mark for those agency fund balances. There's actually precedence for this in the COG, not on a fund balance situation, but back in the early 2000s, the COG essentially created a sinking fund for regional parks money. And the numbers that were quoted here for College Township were about the same level of funding that we contributed at that point in time toward regional parks, and that was done over a 3 to 4 or 5 year period as well. So there is some precedent for doing this kind of an approach, and it has worked in the past. That money that was collected essentially created the grub stake where we had matching money for grants and that type of a thing, and ultimately that led to the development of the 2 regional parks. So we've done this type of thing in the past.
Yeah. And our comment may be we're comfortable with any of the proposed. And then it might be get led by some of our peer municipalities more than that. But we've staked our claim or whatever in that. The only other thing I would bring to attention is that we created a policy for insurance reserve, but the reality that is on a short life. The insurance reserve is on a short life. We got a couple great refunds from the insurance carrier and everything, but that's getting chewed up big time. We created a policy for it because we have a fund based on an HR policy. So finance can't overrule an HR policy, but it is something that somebody's gonna have to figure out soon. That insurance reserve just isn't gonna be there. And so that potentially goes back to the other reason I'd say 5 years, because insurance costs are gonna keep going up over the next, I'd say the insurance reserve is gonna be depleted within 2 years, if that, and everything. So we're gonna have that burden coming online as well. So, in addition to all the increases in expenses in general, and everything, so. But, open to any questions. I've gotten a little intimate with this, so.
Gretchen?
Yeah, I have just one question. So, I mean, this all makes sense to me. What was going on before?
That's a fair question.
So,
We were not comfortable with what was going on.
Yeah,
generally.
honestly, some of it was, this is memorialized what we're actually doing, have always been doing.
Okay.
Some of it, but then other times it would go, oh, we're gonna do it this way this time, and then we're gonna do it this way this time. And it ends up being a tool for staff to build the budget.
And different elected officials would cycle in and have different opinions,
Yeah.
and, things, it would shift, and that just made us nervous as stewards of.
And it's very complex. College Township's fund balance policy is very easy. It's X% of da-da-da-da-da. Well, it's all College Township money there, that's easy. As you can see in the implementation plan by the percentages all at the top, not everybody's a part of every program, and it's very complex. So having a defined policy, we felt was worth the effort.
Thank you, makes sense.
Yeah, it's kind of like we've reached the point, like we talked about with sustainability just being the baseline, you know. This is another watershed moment, I think, for regional. And I support, obviously, the concept. And we make exceptions for capital in order to smooth the spikes. So, you know, you have to be flexible there. And then the last thing I would say is, I like the idea of, if we're in a position to say, we'll go with whatever the other municipalities work with, I like that we're in that position, for one, you know, that we can say that. But as long as that commitment's made up front and it isn't, you know, I see we're gonna get reports 3 times a year, and I wouldn't wanna see a municipality mid-year wanna change that would say, oh, now we wanna go 5 years or 6 years, that would affect everyone else. I think we need to probably have a process that everybody agrees to.
Yeah.
And at a minimum, you can't change that mid-year.
Right.
Maybe you can huddle every year and say,
Yeah. Our intent was that the policy gets adopted with an implementation plan. And I've likened it back to the compensation study and the implementation plan that we generated for that. Those were both approved. It's now policy.
okay.
You know, so the implementation plan becomes part of the policy.
So, yeah. Good
Makes sense to
job.
me.
Great job.
Yep.
Yep.
So as far as comments, I have that College Township Council is comfortable with the construction of the proposed policy, the way that it was done, et cetera. We're actually okay with any of the catch-up provisions. The insurance reserve fund needs to be addressed, and that may require further conversations.
Yeah,
after
review the
adoption.
current HR policy, yeah,
I have a question about the insurance reserve.
right.
Will those increases simply go into the operating budgets for each of the agencies and each of the departments?
Yes,
So those
When-
are
when
to
it's-
benefit,
Yeah,
right, so this was
it's-
to try and hedge that bet in each side, each one of those agencies. So this was a way to offset some of those increases?
no.
Okay.
The money's there, it's, how it comes out of there is governed by a policy, it's X percent, I think it's 80, 20, or, I forget now. Anyway, but the policy works as long as there's money in there.
As long as there's money.
As long as there's money in there.
Likely
When
the money
when
they
that
may
money
have
goes
is
away,
to none.
then it becomes municipal contributions to make up for what used to come out of the insurance reserve fund. And so knowing that it's coming sooner rather than later, it's probably best to start looking at how we're gonna handle insurance reserve. The other interesting part of that is that in our initial discussions, not all the municipalities handle insurance the same.
That's it.
Some have insurance, some somehow have an insurance reserve without getting a rebate or anything like that, but they call it an insurance reserve. I don't know how that works, but just a standardized policy. But that goes back to a whole other thing with fund balance, as we've seen. How College Township does fund balance is completely different than many of our peers, and everything. So that was another layer of challenge, is that your basis for a fund balance policy, trying to get to an agreement on, and everything. But I think the biggest thing that helped, again, is, and I really kept hammering it, is the COG's got great payers. So the fund balance policy, the primary thing for a fund balance policy is mitigate risk, cash flow risk. Well, good payers really mitigate that.
risk, yeah.
Yeah, so.
And so the last comment that I had from council is that the policy must be adopted with the implementation plan. So those were the 4 comments, and I'll wordsmith those a little bit better.
Or your assistant.
Yeah, my other favorite township assistant manager, right?
The only other thing is that maybe about the 6C mitigating the variability or the unpredictability of the capital funds.
And don't forget great pools.
Great pools, right?
It's true.
Great pools, great library, great parks,
Great fire protection.
great fire protection.
You know, you mentioned, you know, for cash flow, but it also addresses the other end. You know, Rich, we don't really talk about this, but there are entities that build enormous fund balances that some would say is philosophically inappropriate with tax money.
Yeah.
This addresses that.
Yeah.
That's actually where the fund balance issue
Started, and that.
was excessive and
Fund
everything.
balances.
But then we used the guideline as a de facto fund balance policy, which whittled down the fund balances to the point where
Over the last couple of years,
yeah,
4 or 5, 6
yeah,
years.
well, yeah, through the 2 iterations of the guideline. And we're living an example of that right now with the Active Adult Center, which started the year with a fund balance, ending fund balance of 0.
Right.
And now we're experiencing these food costs and increased use costs and everything like that. And there's no fund balance there to protect in any way. So it went from one extreme to another, excess to potential, not enough.
There was some elected officials uncomfortable with the excessive fund balances, given that they were tax dollars. You know, there's a fine line between being prepared in cash flow and building a war chest, so.
Yes.
With tax money. It's one
Wait.
thing if it's private money. but-
Yeah, and the other thing is just, one of the things that we've worked hard the past several years is to make fund balances transparent. Because, just because there's a lot of money there, doesn't mean it's accessible. I mean, there's a lot of stuff that's restricted, committed. The one that always gets thrown out is codes fund balance. Well, that's all absolutely restricted. We can't touch that. It has to be used for code, and everything. But it really skews the total fund balance number and everything, but it's not available. So some of the other funds are,
And a lot of it's generated by user fees.
Oh, all of it.
All of it.
besides-
all the
instead of
enterprise.
tax dollars, so.
yeah, all the enterprise are, and as such, it can only be used for those kind of, we've sought legal advice several times. How could we use that for something else? And the immediate one, how do we get that to fire? Because we're building stuff, but.
Well, but I mean, it's also, the fact that exists is the reason why there are able to be inter-agency loans
Used to be.
for a short period of
Yeah.
time.
Yeah, we kind of poo-pooed those going forward.
Yeah, the other thing about the code fund balance, keep in mind, those are all prepaid expenses.
For future services.
For future services, so that truly is beyond a user fee, that's other people's money. They've already paid for a service, and that has to be there whenever they come to receive the service.
Right. The problem with the code fund is that it's been budgeted doom and gloom. Everybody's gonna close up shops, not build anything and all that kind of stuff. And every year, the center region exceeds the projections. So at some point, you gotta bet on the center region instead of against the center region. And the way that you balance that one, the only mechanism to balance that one is the fee multiplier for how a building permit is charged, is to reduce that number so you're not bringing in as much money and you use up the money in your bank.
It's good.
Any other comments?
I just have one. I would ask for an alternate for next, next Thursday. This really isn't on the agenda. You know, this will be the general forum and we'll be there in full force, but I do request an alternate for next Thursday.
finance?
For finance, if available. And that can also be staff, so.
Yeah, well, I can be there.
Okay. Gretchen? Eric, do you want to take it?
I can't.
Next, the 14th,
Yes. 8:30.
if Adam wants to go, I would certainly defer to him. I am available. How about we'll
It'll be,
figure,
we'll figure it out.
Yeah, yeah,
One of
I
us.
just, thank you.
I'll
Yeah.
be working, just in case somebody thought I might want to go.
I'll be on an airplane.
Good. All right. Thank you for all your work on that, Rich. And thank the Finance Committee too, as well as the staff.
Yeah.
the agenda's not out yet, is it? It'll come out Monday, I'm thinking.
Friday, it'll come out Friday. I reviewed the draft today and offered comments, so that
Okay.
part's already done.
So new business 2 is more comments
Right.
for the executive director at COG. These are council comments on the COG Center Region Parks Intergovernmental Agreement. This is also something you've done a lot of work on, Rich and Eric. And Adam, if you want to give us an overview?
Yeah, well, I mean, the only thing that I want to point out is that the intergovernmental agreement has in fact previously been reviewed by the College Township solicitor, who really had no substantive comments on that. What Lewis did not see were the various addenda that are now included here. The parks and facilities inventory list, as well as the key points and some of those kinds of things were not originally part of what he reviewed. But essentially, this process has been handled by the Ad hoc Governance Committee at COG. It's been in progress now, I'm gonna say it's 3 years
Plus, yes.
plus, born out of some of the challenges that the COG had in the construction of the Whitehall Road project. The essential elements here are, what is the role of the Center Region Parks and Recreation Authority? And what is the role, if any, of the COG Parks Capital Committee? And trying to work through those arrangements. So I don't have a lot more to offer in terms of analysis on this. I mean, I think that the committee has dealt with some very thorny issues. And there are wide-ranging opinions. I would say this, from a personal perspective, I think this is likely the best outcome that we could hope for, considering this has to be a consensus document. So, and you have 2 members of council that have been engaged in this, so I will be glad to take a back seat.
Eric, would you like to
Or
comment?
3, actually.
I was gonna say,
Yeah,
Gretchen.
Gretchen.
Actually, not to the level that Rich has been lately, especially pertaining to what we're talking about now. I mean, I've been involved philosophically trying to get this moving forward and trying to help interpret the things we're trying to memorialize. And as part of we hired, who are we using for the building?
Kimmel.
Kimmel is
Yeah.
architects.
They did the parks master plan update for us a few years ago, and that helped gather. I
They
think,
did.
wasn't it them?
No. No, there's a facilities master plan. This really doesn't build in at all.
But
on any of that
it
stuff, but-
highlighted the need, because it identified so many things that we didn't really have necessarily fit in a classification, that just,
Oh, yeah, from the inventory list?
from the inventory list, it was, oh geez, whose is that? Who takes care of that?
Yeah.
But no, the credit really goes to Rich and his work. from my standpoint.
Well, again, Gretchen, until she left the school district, was the authority, one of the authority reps on it, so she fought the battle as well, and everything.
You
As
got a
far,
lot accomplished. This is
yeah.
This is a lot.
Well, I was gonna say, if you really wanna see a lot, you should go to the SharePoint. And all the supporting documents there, and the discussions, and everything that's there dwarfs this. You know, we just had to get to that point, and everything. And yeah, consensus document can be challenged, but that part of it wasn't too bad, honestly, working through it and stuff. There was a couple bones of contention, and one of the things that you'll see throughout the document, and you reference Parks Capital, you will not see a reference to Parks Capital in here anywhere. And we globalized that to COG, the General Forum designated body, committee, or whatever like that. It's because it may be Parks Cap. We tried to future-proof as much too, so that we didn't specifically reference something and then that goes away, and so, okay, now we have a document that's already out of date, or non-conforming, or however you want to look at it and everything. So we tried to, and the other part is we had to fight trying to be over-specific in this document. This is the bones. And now we need to put the meat to it via several of these other agreements and other understandings that we're working in addition. But this sets the baseline for how everybody should be working together. And it is, a lot of it is memorialized. But one of the things that we discovered over, in particular, Whitehall, was there was too many opportunities where things could be interpreted based on the discussion of the day, as opposed to what actually is or was, and all that kind of stuff. And that's what this attempts to resolve and everything. So council actually already saw this base agreement before. You didn't see the appendix stuff, and again, going towards future proofing, we put things that we knew were going to change into appendixes, not in the base agreement and everything. So the specific appendix list is the inventory list, which is, staff I think did an admirable job on capturing all that information, because that didn't exist. So, I mean, that's quite a document. They had to do a lot of research with municipal staff. Sometimes municipal staff says, I don't know, and so they came up with an answer and everything. The one thing I would offer, Adam had suggested that there was a potential disconnect between park types that are shown in Appendix A and definitions in the base agreement. And outside of the regionals are regionals, those are pretty clear. It's the other ones that you can have various park types which fit under municipal and everything. Simply by ownership, you kind of know it's a municipal park or a local park or whatever. But there's nothing to say that we couldn't have an inventory or a key on the appendix that puts some of these specific park types into a bucket of either municipal, local, or right now they're regional, but you may have subsets of regional that we don't have currently and everything. So we can afford an opportunity for that. So I would offer that as a comment that to help the document, that there could be a key in Appendix A that more reflects the definitions in the base agreement.
When the master plan was done, this was a while ago, the consultants that were hired, they put this exact inventory list together with a code. So I don't know if that's gonna match the language or not,
No,
but.
it is not,
No.
because that's one of the problems that we found, is that it was consistently inconsistent and everything. And they found all kinds of new parks and got them built in there and everything, so.
We have a lot of parks.
We do, we really do.
We're
And that's
very
not a bad
fortunate.
thing. Yeah, that's not a bad thing. So Appendix B, you already saw through the general form and approved it. So it's the matrix on the recommended mission and purpose for the authority and all that good stuff. And who's responsible for what. Then the next one is the structure recommendations. Again, that went through the authority, that went through the general form. It can be changed in the future, but we worked pretty hard at it, so we thought we'd throw it on there as an appendix. The next one, the workflow, capital project workflow, that's Appendix D, is a new document. And there was potential consternation about this one, but I think the COG staff and the municipal staffs through the managers work through it and are comfortable with it. You know, it's one of those, every plan's perfect till it meets contact, so we'll, as a regional capital project comes through, we'll be able to road test it. Then finally, Appendix E is just a report template, just if people are struggling with how to report back to their bodies, we just offered a possible and everything. But allowed for the freedom of each municipality to handle it however they wanted to handle it. And again, this document is absolutely not intended to answer every question and cover every scenario. That has to be worked through. There's multiple other documents that are being built in support of this to accomplish that. So maybe by the end of the year, I can hang up my spurs, but I don't know. This has gone on longer than I would have anticipated, but again, it's the standard, not the time. And I think we got a pretty good document out of it.
And it also got stunted at the beginning,
Yeah.
so, by a lot. So it didn't actually take.
Yeah, it was part of the process.
Yep.
It was part of the process. I mean, candidly, we had to get over the first words out of everybody's mouth was kill Parks Capital. And then it drug everything else down. You know, the preconceived notion that it should just kill Parks Capital was, you know, drug it. And if we're not gonna do that, then we're not gonna do anything almost. We actually had a 3-3 vote at one point about that, of whether to just, okay, are we putting a recommendation to do this? And it went 3-3, so.
May I have a hypothetical to put to the group now that we have this. And you've already identified the fact that not everything that needs to be memorialized is found in this document. But hypothetically, you know, municipalities pay for capital improvements in parks. Okay. So hypothetically, if a tennis court has been resurfaced.
Hypothetically?
Hypothetically.
Okay.
And hypothetically, individuals are hypothetically playing pickleball on that court. And hypothetically, somebody calls the Center Region Parks and Recreation Agency to inquire about why people are playing pickleball on a tennis court. And hypothetically, that gets redirected to the township for some reason. I mean, we don't do operations, we pay for capital,
Yeah.
right? So I don't suppose you have anything in here that answers that particular question.
Not in this, but the answer would be one of the documents that's being developed is a memorandum of understanding with each municipality, potentially for each and every park, of how the municipality wants it business handled.
Okay.
So that it goes in there that says, yeah, and you can put in there, I don't want these calls, kind of thing. And it varies between municipalities. Some municipalities don't want Parks and Rec to do anything, others want them to do everything. And similar to the fund balance policy, it's the differences between the member municipalities. If it was just College Township, it'd be easy, right?
Right.
Kidding.
So that's why we felt that the memorandum of understandings with the member municipalities, outlining, the no-mo, low-mo, no-mo, that it creeped up and everything. Well, what if I want this? How can I get that? I got a memorandum of understanding that says this is how you want it, kind of thing. Now, how does everybody pay? That'll be the next big fight. And everything. That one will probably get kicked back to finance, like everything else. And we'll figure it out, but no, I think, and honestly, that funding thing, I think it's gonna end up the Miller formula versus the Cata formula thing. The difference between the two is so minimal, just keep it simple and just get it done. And the big thing for parks, I say it all the time, there are no turnstiles on our parks. So we don't know whether it's a Patton resident, a college resident, or even a Half Moon resident, utilizing the facilities of our park. And it's a regional asset. I think it's an economic development type thing, so, anyhow.
It's a public health thing,
Well, there's that too.
Yeah. Any other comments? Do you have what you need?
I have a comment, yes, and I will provide that to Ben.
Okay.
All right.
All right.
Thank you.
Staff informatives is the next item. There were, next item up is council staff other matters. You had something for that, Adam?
As a matter of fact, yes, I did. We had talked at last year's CIP and again at budget construction time about standing up an ad hoc committee to assist members of staff, select members of staff of evaluating our healthcare benefits. And we are within just a few weeks of standing that up. I had the opportunity to speak with Sue, who has expressed an interest to, and given her profession, to sit on that and to participate in that as a member of council. But I was wondering if there was another member of council that may have an interest in participating along with several members of staff and Sue in that review and evaluation. With the objective being that we may be able to make some changes to help reduce some of the costs associated with the escalating healthcare situation. And you can think about it, you have a couple of weeks yet, but we would likely probably meet on a Wednesday during regular business hours in order to accomplish that for an hour or so at each meeting. And staff will help direct some of that conversation, but I think it could be very helpful to have any member of council, or as many as two, actively participate in that so that there's a good and clear understanding and can help communicate that to the balance of the board. So give it some thought.
Asking for a friend, will there be
Food?
lunch, food?
I don't know.
Asking
It
for.
depends on what we have to do to have the hypothetical friend attend.
It's.
Thinking about you, buddy.
I appreciate that. I'd say you should be thinking about that.
Okay, all right, got it.
Hey, I had something too. If we're ready for it.
Yeah.
Hey, hearing the public comment tonight over the wall, we're all sitting here thinking, geez, there is very little we can do.
Right.
It's an allowed use, meets the land development plan. Might it be beneficial for that to come, for a listing of what we can and cannot do to be brought to one of the next couple of meetings so that that information can be shared.
It should be shared.
Yeah, I mean, it was so hard to hear that because it was like, geez. And then to reconcile that with the limits that we have. I mean, it's zoned, it's allowed use in that zoning district, and then they come with the land development plan that meets the.
Well, I still think that they have a high hurdle to meet some of the standards. That said, yes, I mean, I agree with your comment, and I think that we can compile kind of a primer or something that kind of explains what we're able to do and what we're not able to do.
That's what I'm asking.
Yeah, I think that we can come up with
I
something
think
like
even
that.
though it's not specific to Wawa,
Yes.
it is something that will come up over and over again. The general perception is we can, by fiat, say no or yes, and we can't.
Yeah, in fact, it
Despite how
shouldn't
we
be
feel.
specific to Wawa. I think it would be
Yeah.
more appropriate for it not to be.
I bumped into the guy from the Cove the other day
Yeah.
out for a walk, and we
Yeah.
had a discussion about it, and the gentleman who called and kind of organized everything was wondering why we didn't post the property or notify anyone of a sketch plan. So I let him know that that's not a requirement of our code, is to post the property and notify residents when a preliminary or final plan gets submitted, but we don't have any requirements like that for sketch plans, so that can't give anyone, the idea, the upper hand on getting here quicker with a sketch plan. So that's one thing I tried to explain to them, and, told them a little bit more about the process and let them know they can always come to council and, voice their concerns. So I believe that's why, they did show up this evening, but I think that's a good idea. If we don't make it specific to Wawa, and we just say, if a plan comes in and it meets all of this, the township really doesn't have anything to say, no, we can't approve that plan, because it meets everything in our ordinances.
And then to take that one step further, where you do have control as far as limiting or designating allowed uses, and that's in the zoning district. Because that conversation came up. Why do we need more gas? Why do we need, and nobody wants government telling businesses what we think would work well here, but we do have control over uses. So just to be able to identify the point at which the public can affect allowed uses in areas, and that's at the zoning level.
Or
Form-based
or
code.
on,
What's that?
Form-based code, though. It changes that.
In my
that map.
experience, people really appreciate when you explain how the process works so that they know where the points of possibility are, like you were just describing. And even just having that conversation can be so meaningful.
Yeah, I'm even toyed with the idea of then requesting that as a future agenda item, but I thought, well, let's talk about it under other matters instead.
Well, we talked about, how to engage the public. And this is one part of that, is having the conversation. A lot of people don't understand how local government works, where to find the information, how to look at the agendas and watch the agendas, and things get decided in empty rooms, so.
Well, and
Good suggestion.
it goes in spurts too. If there's some big topic, you get all kinds of people and you educate them, and this is how the process works, this is how you engage, this is then there's a lull and everybody forgets, and then you gotta do it again, and all that kind of stuff. And so if we could.
Sure.
A handout,
Yeah.
kind of thing, as these things come up, we could, maybe have.
Humans are reactive by nature.
Huh.
I will say, when I had a brief discussion with them, I didn't want to make them feel they were obligated to remain for the entirety of the meeting. They did indicate that at least several of them plan to come back again at the next meeting. It may be a good idea to have something
Sure.
for them 2 weeks from now.
And
No,
also,
I think
so
we
should
can do,
have
I
our,
think we can put that together. I mean, I think members of council saw a communication from me. It'll probably be in our packet at the next meeting. But I responded to what I thought was some misinformation that might have been spread at a
yes.
Ferguson Township meeting.
I watched the meeting, it was,
Okay.
misinformation was spread.
Okay, and so I responded, and I think the poor individual that wrote me probably got more than what they bargained for, but.
Does that ever happen?
No, right, never, right, Lindsay, never. But I thought it was important because that's the kind of information that if it's allowed to stand,
Yep.
Yeah.
is very tough to rewind, rewind that back.
It takes on a life of its own.
Right,
Yeah.
so, but I think that within the next 2 weeks, I think we can come up with something that would fit the bill, would be appropriate, and it'll be generic enough that we can use it throughout.
Well,
Would
and I
it be
think-
worth sharing that correspondence with the Ferguson Board of Supervisors?
I'd be happy to do that. I can forward it on to Tom King, the manager, and say, hey, just understand that this was in response to a question, so
Because we wouldn't want it to happen again.
Right.
And again.
I think it's a great idea.
Hey, just so I'm clear, did I hear that someone in the meeting gave bad information? I assume she misinterpreted accurate information.
No,
No,
the supervisor,
it was the supervisor.
Oh,
the supervisor said.
Yeah, I watched the meeting.
oh, okay. Then maybe we should take a little bit more proactive approach with Ferguson.
Yeah, I haven't seen the meeting yet. It was just posted, right, yesterday maybe?
I watched it today.
You watched it today, yeah, I've intended to do that. Anyway,
We could always go to the next meeting during public comment and correct the record.
But it's a really good email that you wrote, so.
Yeah, I didn't think you went overboard.
Oh, no, I thought it was really,
well, I was talking about the.
really good.
Look,
Quantity
when-
of it.
When I start to write about the MPC, that to me seems like it's overboard.
I didn't think it was overboard. I thought it was extremely appropriate and well-written.
Well, thank you.
And I think it will matter to the people who came tonight that they were heard and recognized. And that's something that we can do, which is work with them, talk with them, explain what we do and how we do it. I think that will matter to them. I think the gentleman who owns the Cove made the point that where he came from, he could never speak to the governing body.
That was
And
moving.
that was
Yeah.
important to hear, and he felt heard. And you know, in addition to whatever we bring back, I think we should have our ABC application.
Oh, absolutely. Okay.
But I think that was really important because we are responding as we can.
Good points.
Yeah.
That's a
And I-
good idea to have those applications ready
That-
to be filled out.
Yep. I
Greenfield.
have a thing in my contact, so, you know, on my phone. So if I send you my contact, it has how to join a meeting linked in there. So if you get it, if you talk to me, you'll get that. Anything to get people engaged.
One,
I think
Yeah,
Rich
one
has-
more.
one last.
Well, we haven't adjourned, I was just
Yeah, yeah.
unplugging.
Yeah, no, I just said one more.
Please.
Just a shout out to the Center Foundation. Center Gives wrapped up while we were meeting, and they finished at $3,077,294 via over 18,000 total gifts.
Wow.
Just, you know, again, things that don't happen in other communities, this is happening here.
3 million.
Yep, they hit their mark. They hit their mark.
Wow. Thanks for sharing that.
Absolutely.
Anything else from any of the members? Anybody want to make a motion?
So moved.
All right, we're adjourned.